The Porsche Macan 4 that you see here has already been presented to you in a comprehensive classic review featuring a detailed driving report, and we've shown it to you from both the outside perspective and the interior. If you happen to miss the video, feel free to check the video description. I'll make sure to include a link for you there. Because today we want to take this Macan 4 on the highway. We want to check the consumption at 100, 120, 140, 160 kilometers per hour. We intend to test the top speed and thoroughly check out the assistance systems. And naturally, we want to thoroughly assess the travel comfort of a Porsche Macan on 4 occasions. Moreover, we'll conduct the charging test to see if it really goes from 10 to 80% in the promised 21 minutes as claimed by the manufacturer. I would say it's a truly jam-packed video where you can check whether you are already part of the einfach electric community. If not, we'd love your support through a subscription, and we'll see each other again in future electric car videos. Now let's hit the highway with the Porsche Macan 4. We've set off with the Porsche Macan 4. The term Macan 4 indicates it has all-wheel drive, which translates to the inclusion of 2 powerful electric motors. One on the front axle, one on the rear axle, with a system output of 387 horsepower, or an overboost in balance control with 300 kilowatts, 408 horsepower overboost power. That's quite something.
This continues onward even today.
And thus also comparable to the Audi Q6 e-tron Quattro. We tested that one and there were quite a few comments from people saying, man, I'm thinking about whether to get an Audi Q6, e-tron as a Quattro or a Macan. That's why Stefan is also going to include the Q6 e-tron in the consumption list for comparison purposes. However, that's a relatively unfair comparison because the Macan 4 here is an SUV coupe with a drag coefficient of 0.25, while the Q6 e-tron we tested is essentially the sedan version. I think there will be a Sportback later as a coupe, because I believe it had about 0.3 or so. Yes.
It runs at over 0.3, yes.
That's the reason it's somewhat of an unfair comparison, yet Stefan will proceed with it, so you have some sort of reference point in quotes, given that it's organized in a completely different alphabetical order. Today we have 13.5 degrees here near Magdeburg, and we'll be using the A2 highway as our test track, driving back and forth between Magdeburg and Berlin to cover 20 kilometers at 100, 120, 140, 160 kilometers per hour to determine the consumption. We will then drive to Hohenvorsleben to Ionity to charge from 10 to 80%, because at that charging station we always get full power on our own. And we want to test the assistance systems with you on the highway and discuss the travel comfort. Here on the Porsche Macan 4. Yes, what we forgot to mention, we have winter tires on. Maybe Winter Sport Contact TS 860 or something like that.
Exact, yes.
And with mixed tires, 255 in the front with 21 inches, and in the back, 285. It's always important to note that mixed tires generally lead to a slightly higher consumption because of the increased rolling resistance. And winter tires also have a slightly higher rolling resistance. The Audi, of course, was on summer tires. So from that perspective, it's just a rough estimate, more like a ballpark figure. And I believe that's what you truly appreciate about us, that you get a better and more comprehensive sense of how much fuel consumption can vary. We're not really a lab with controlled conditions. We don't make adjustments for wind conditions. Today, there's quite a significant and strong wind here in the Magdeburg Burda too. To be fair, you really have to take that into account too. So with that, once more, we've got guidelines and benchmarks for you that we collaboratively compile so you can get a better sense of whether it's good or perhaps not as good as it should be. We've now arrived on the A2 motorway, and unfortunately we're encountering the problem that at the moment there is quite a significant traffic jam here, beginning just from the area of Bergost onwards. This means we now have to see how we determine the values here. I fixed 100 kilometers per hour in the Porsche Inno 3, reset the counter to 0. Now, our goal is to measure the fuel consumption over the next 20 kilometers while maintaining a speed of 100 kilometers per hour. Yes, that does happen occasionally when you plan to film, that unfortunately an accident occurs somewhere and you end up being restricted by it. And now we have to improvise, of course, because our route actually only allows 20 kilometers in one direction. However, we'll definitely be able to get it done accurately together with you in some way. Stefan, what's your guess on the fuel use of a Macan 4 with 387 horsepower over 100 kilometers per hour?
Oh, I'm always really bad at this, you know? I'd say under 20.
Just like that. That was quite surprising for us. While we're determining the first value, we can talk a little more about the Porsche InnoDrive. This is definitely a system that I would most certainly highly recommend to you if you appreciate having excellent semi-autonomous assistance during your driving experience. Because only with the Porsche InnoDrive do you have the steering assistant with active lane guidance included, which guarantees that you will consistently maintain a pleasant and secure position in the very center of the lane while driving. Otherwise, it is a system that also works predictively. That means it incorporates topography, navigation data, and camera systems for, through traffic sign recognition, to adjust to the new speed. So if the car knows there's a section with 120 kilometers per hour ahead, then at the sign, if you were driving faster, you would be reduced to 120 kilometers per hour. Then, once the road is clear again, you would typically accelerate back up to the cruising speed that you had originally set. You might be familiar with this type of system, for example, as the Travel IQ Assist found within the VW ID system, or even sometimes in other similar automotive technologies found in different brands. Semi-autonomous support from Audi. It's all part of the VW Group's system and works relatively flawlessly and very, very pleasantly, because that way you get the maximum support. And these days you're quite often distracted, whether by driving or other various things, yes? In that regard, I truly believe Porsche InnoDrive is absolutely worth the investment. I think the additional cost is around 1,600 euros.
Which is honestly still quite okay.
Exactly, because I think I paid 2.5 in the 911. That was really expensive. And then there's the lane change assistant, which is just this marking in the mirror, so blind spot, another 900 euros. So in the 911, I believe you paid around 3.5 to get the utmost semi-autonomous support. And there's 1,600 right here in the market, nearly like a plug. Yeah. We have the first consumption value for you. We drove continuously at 100 kilometers per hour. You see this here, over 21.4 kilometers, and have a consumption of 17.6 kilowatt hours. Stefan, I absolutely have to say that's quite an impressive level of fuel consumption.
Yes, I like that. It's nice.
Remember, we have a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, 95 kilowatt hours net. We have 14.5 degrees, so not really the best temperature window, ideally between 20 and 25 degrees. And today we experienced strong winds. We really noticed that when we were getting everything ready for you, filmed the review with the driving report, and all in all, I have to say, with 17.7 kilowatt hours at 2.4 tons empty weight.
That's a decent value for sure.
In the past, we had some other candidates who happened to weigh less and were of a similar size, maybe just ever so slightly shorter. I think the ID.4 is roughly around 20, isn't that right? So I must admit, Porsche didn't just incorporate 387 horsepower performance into the Macan 4, but also managed to include an impressive consumption rate of 17.6 kilowatt hours. We have entered a speed of 120 kilometers per hour into InnoDrive and reset the trip counter alongside the onboard computer. After completing the U-turn, we are now making our way back towards the city of Magdeburg, starting our journey from Berg Ost once again. Evaluate what the Macan 4 consumes in terms of fuel over the next 20 kilometers on this route. I'm definitely quite curious to see what the outcome will be. Think he'll stay under 20 or go over?
Well, I really think...
The Porsche Macan currently starts with the rear-wheel drive variant at just over 80,000 euros. The Macan 4, then with 2 electric motors powering both axles, starts at 84,000 euros. You can expect efficient route planning, a well-organized and comprehensive charging plan, and robust voice control, all of which will significantly enhance and improve your driving experience on the road. Lots of good things, huh?
Quite a lot of good things, exactly.
And in this regard, Porsche has substantially improved their system, which was originally launched in conjunction with the Taycan, into life. At least that's what they claim themselves. Whether that's true, we want to try out with you by saying, hey Porsche, drive us to Munich to Viktualienmarkt 1.
Munich, Viktualienmarkt 1, I assume that was straightforward guidance.
Yes, that's fast, that's really smooth. Now he's doing the load planning for the route optimization. I must say, it goes quite quickly.
That is definitely quite fast already, yes. The target is participating at a checkpoint.
We do plan for 2 charging stops, one lasting 12 minutes and the other lasting 15 minutes, neatly arranged on the right edge. By using the settings available, You're provided with a wide variety of options to ensure this aligns perfectly with your particular needs by supporting it with minimum requirements. If, for example, you say, hey, 10% to the destination is too little for me because I plan to drive somewhere else the next day, like, I don't know, to Lake Tegern from Munich, then of course you can set that. The same goes for the charging stops. Some might even go below 10%, taking the risk. Then they can just set 5 or 2, or you can of course say, and Mr. Safety, I would like to ensure that I have a solid 15% battery left when I reach the destination. That's where you have the maximum flexibility. You can, of course, prioritize all partner providers that accept the charging service, so to speak, once more. Well, that's actually quite an intriguing story indeed. The functionality is just somewhat limited when you're on the road and driving around. And naturally, you also have a variety of options at your disposal here to personalize everything with different satellite maps and diverse map content. Meanwhile, I believe there's quite a smooth and efficient processor in here now, which doesn't stutter and jitter like it used to in the past. So in that sense, Stefan, you've got to say Porsche has advanced, right?
Absolutely, yes, that's fun.
You can also integrate this in the direction of travel into a micro area. I also find that to be really well executed actually. Thus, I have to state that the system has been significantly advanced. Of course, you also have preconditioning for the battery included. That means if you have a charging station in the world computer, it will bring the battery to the optimal temperature to enable you with the maximum power of up to 270 kilowatts peak. Yes, many people say, well, why does the Macan only have 270 kilowatts and not the over 320 kilowatts of the Taycan? That's due to the cell chemistry. This means you have a battery pack here that initially has 5 Kilowattstunden gross less on one hand, compared to the Performance Plus battery in the Taycan. And in the Taycan, you've got LG batteries, and here battery packs from KTL, or however you want to call it. And that's where the difference in cell chemistry lies, leading to different charging speeds. In the end, it counts as 4 minutes. One might argue if that's a lot or a little time to really stop.
Yes, that's all right. Rains or not?
Do you think he actually realizes the exhaust he's spewing out?
That's really rather intense, isn't it?
Seems like something's broken, huh?
Yeah, the particle filter is definitely not there.
The wonderful thing about electromobility is that we practically don't produce any emissions at all. Naturally, we do indeed have some wear and tear from the tires and brakes if we ever happen to use them at all, but otherwise I truly think that's a good approach.
Surely.
We have the next consumption reading. You see there's a lot of traffic here. We've driven 22.1 kilometers, 22.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and reached an average speed of 120 kilometers per hour. I have to say, considering everything, that is, in my opinion, definitely a very good value for an electric SUV coupe, especially when you consider it has an empty weight of 2.4 tons. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
So you can definitely build on that, because at this moment we have 15.5 degrees Celsius and we still aren't in the optimal temperature range for the battery and everything else. The air conditioning is currently set to 22 degrees with the AC switched on. From that particular standpoint, I have to say I'm genuinely quite impressed by this car. And if we take other cars that are maybe 10 or 20 centimeters shorter, but also don't have 387 horsepower and sometimes only rear-wheel drive like the ID.4, I have to say those are really top values. We have set the Porsche InnoDrive to 140 kilometers per hour. We made the U-turn at the Magdeburger Kreuz, now heading towards Berg Ost again, and we want to find out with you what the Porsche Macan 4 consumes over the next 20 kilometers at a speed of 140 kilometers per hour. Stefan, do you have a guess?
Some 20?
I'm curious to see if we can beat that.
In many situations, it is quite essential to clearly emphasize
where it delivers sound, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's really important if you want to have a nice, well-performing electric vehicle. If you're traveling a long distance, then you surely want to have a little bit of sound as well, don't you think? If you have to say right away, if you're somewhat audio inclined like me and naturally prepared to embrace and invest in your audio affinity, spending roughly 4,700 euros, which I would do. I have my 9112 Earmaster, and you can also find this in the Macan, and I can tell you I listened to it in the turbo while idling, and it truly blows everything away, featuring such amazingly clear highs and incredibly clear mid-tones. By the way, a big shout out goes to Jan Stratman from Electric Drive, who truly enjoys listening to techno music. And you can hear them so loud that your eardrums really pop.
Yeah, which might not be entirely that pleasant.
But I have to tell you, such an awesome sound system. I mean, Burmester is great, but Posen is enough, right? We have the following consumption value for you. We covered a distance of 22.8 kilometers at an average speed of 140 kilometers per hour and consumed 26.6 kilowatt hours for every 100 kilometers traveled. The consumption gradually rises with every additional increase of 20 kilometers per hour. As we commonly know, there are typically gaps of about 3 to 4 kilowatt hours between each step, and this same consistency here indicates that we have a relatively balanced route in terms of both wind conditions and topography. Wir orientieren uns immer an Durchschnittswerten. Das heißt, wir fahren nicht konstant 140 Stundenkilometer, sondern unsere Durchschnittsgeschwindigkeit fällt durch den Verkehr niedriger aus. Im Durchschnitt sind wir bei 140 Stundenkilometern. Mit einem Tempomat von 150 bis 160 erreichen wir durch den Verkehr oft 160 Stundenkilometer, was Verkehrseinflüsse zeigt. Besonders Baustellenzonen beeinflussen stark die gesamte Streckengeschwindigkeit. Big consumption figures and then you go on to sum up for a higher total. Есть 5 великих тайн. Тайна смерти – это одна из этих 5. But when do you actually have the opportunity, considering traffic, to consistently drive at 140 km/h, right, Stefan?
Yes, it's certainly quite rapid indeed.
It is important for you to clearly communicate that in our tables and values, as it often, whether rightly or wrongly, results in a variety of comments from your side. Clearly convey this in our tables and values, as it often results in various comments from your side, rightly or not. In the city, it likely consumes even less when it's 30 degrees out.
Okay.
We've set the cruise control to 160 kilometers per hour, and we've also reset the onboard computer. Despite the heavy traffic on the road, we will make an effort to maintain a steady speed of 160 kilometers per hour as we continue our drive. It's quite challenging, yet not entirely impossible. Unfortunately, we weren't able to keep a speed of 160 kilometers per hour because there were simply too many trucks in the middle lane slowing us down. Challenging possibly, no high speed with many trucks. Die Geschwindigkeit beträgt 153 km/h im Durchschnitt und der Verbrauch liegt bei 36,1 Kilowatt pro 100 Kilometer auf einer Strecke von 21 Kilowatt. Das ist ehrlich gesagt ziemlich ambitioniert.
Wir haben das tatsächlich sogar fast schon einmal durchlebt.
Zurück von Burg Ost nach Magdeburg, die Strecke anders wahrnehmend. Mit zunehmender Geschwindigkeit wächst der Verbrauch exponentiell. Je schneller man fährt, desto stärker zeigt sich dieser Anstieg.
Yes.
We have frequently seen this, particularly in relation to the Swedish derivatives.
This is a spoken text.
Obviously, given all the traffic congestion that can happen, the A2 really isn't the greatest or most ideal test track if you think about it.
No, it's not really, since there's quite significant truck traffic steadily moving from east to west.
I've switched to Sport Plus mode because we want to really hit the gas pedal. 130, 150, 170 kilometers per hour. We have 387 horsepower and even an impressive 408 in overboost mode. So this car really surges ahead with remarkable force and incredible speed. Leider erlaubt der Verkehr es derzeit nicht, eine Messung von 100 auf 200 zu machen, da vor uns ein Fahrer in seinem Mercedes sehr gemächlich unterwegs ist und unsere Geschwindigkeit damit reduziert. Der Verkehr verhindert, dass wir von 100 auf 200 beschleunigen, da vor uns ein Mercedes uns bremst. Leider ist die Straße nicht frei genug, um sicher zu beschleunigen oder vorbeizufahren. Im Fahrbericht haben wir einfach mal ganz locker aus der Hand 5,3 Sekunden gemessen. Das fand ich wirklich ziemlich ordentlich und beeindruckend.
Yes, considering it was uphill, impressive.
I really would have liked to be able to show you a number closer to 100 or 200 at this point. At long last, our colleague Zermidis is at last finally moving over to the other side. We swiftly and smoothly reach speeds of 200 kilometers per hour, then accelerate up to 210, and soon after hit 227 kilometers per hour, all accomplished with ease. He effortlessly surpasses the top speed, which is definitely quite impressive. It's worth noting that there is no speed limit of 100 kilometers per hour here. There are truly no restrictions here at all. Thus, you can really test and fully experience the top speed incredibly well on the A2 with you all. Let's try 1 to 200 again. We've reset the draggy, and now we're ready to take off here in Sport Plus mode, aiming for an exciting performance. We reached 150, sped up to 160, then climbed to 170, hit 180, and now we're smoothly crossing over 200. The traffic detection system is going haywire once again. Stefan, do you have a current reading?
100 at around 250.4 seconds.
Actually, it's quite a good value, though it's obviously not a super sports car. He has, I think, a Taycan Turbo S or Turbo GT. It does around 7 seconds or so, which is about half the time.
This is a spoken text.
We're talking about over 1,000 horsepower here. We shouldn't forget that this is moving a mass of 2.4 tons in such an electric SUV. 15 seconds seems really nice and feels quite fast, definitely adding to a fun experience.
This is a spoken text.
With the Macan Turbo, you are looking at getting an impressive 639 horsepower in its overboost mode. So if you're in search of more punch and power, rest assured, the Macan has got all that covered for you, right?
Yes.
You know, I have to tell you, look at how it immediately heads towards 230 kilometers per hour again. That's just what those Porsche genes are all about, always pushing the limits. Driving such a car is simply a joy, enabling you to navigate swiftly and effortlessly on the road. There's no one behind us, so we can go ahead and apply the brakes with some extra force now. It decelerates quite effectively, using its proactive passenger protection system to tighten the seatbelts, which keeps us securely seated and well protected during any sudden stops.
Exactly.
Whatever we speed up significantly, we definitely must also be able to stop or slow down quickly and efficiently when the need arises. Porsche is undoubtedly a brand that consistently delivers performance.
Will do.
I know of no Porsche models, not even those of the older variety, that do not come with an exceptional and outstanding braking system as part of their standard features. Porsche models, no matter their age, consistently feature outstanding and superior quality braking systems as a standard element. Getting that Porsche sensation with a Sport Plus punch, reaching speeds of 140, 150 is simply exhilarating and incredibly powerful. Direct steering really captures the true essence of driving joy, even though another brand often misuses the term joy of driving. Let's examine and discuss the travel comfort you get inside the Porsche Macan. Stefan, could you share your impressions and what your gut feeling says, considering you're acting as our neutral observer and evaluator?
I really don't need to say much. I'm sitting very comfortably. For long trips, it shouldn't be an issue at all. These are the classic Porsche seats. They're a bit firmer by nature, but that's no problem. With the four-way adjustments, you can set them just how you like for personalized comfort. Absolutely, it's certainly very cool and decidedly sporty, not to mention quite stylish, I confidently think and feel. Just as you'd anticipate from a Porsche vehicle. It's definitely a lot of fun to drive and enjoy.
Porsche thoroughly eliminates any swaying motions, and it truly excels in providing superb road stability. The steering is highly precise, and you have the option to choose the suspension in 3 distinct modes. Ihr bekommt serienmäßig ein solides Stahlfahrwerk. Optional ist das PASM erhältlich, das Porsche Active Suspension Management, womit ihr die Dämpfer in 2 Stufen anpassen und das Fahrverhalten optimal euren Wünschen entsprechend einstellen könnt, ranging from comfort to sporty. Additionally, there's the option for an advanced air suspension system, as described, including Porsche Active Suspension Management for a personalized and refined driving experience. With the Porsche Active Suspension Management System, you receive superior level customization, precisely adjusting the suspension height to match both your driving style and current road conditions. I would always strongly recommend making the maximum investment in the suspension system, as it is the essential link connecting the car body through the tires directly to the road. If you're seeking versatility, including comfortable family rides and the thrill of racing through the Großglockner's Bends with friends, or participating in a Porsche track day with a Macan, a well-designed suspension system that balances comfort and performance is essential. Familie, Track Days, Serpentinen, alles im Macan.
Exactly.
Es ist bedauerlich, dass Porsche dem Macan das neue Active Ride Fahrwerk vorenthält und damit auf eine wertvolle Verbesserung verzichtet. Es ist bedauerlich, dass Porsche dem Macan das Active Ride Fahrwerk vorenthalten hat. Dieses fortschrittliche System würde das Fahrerlebnis verbessern und mehr Fahrkomfort bieten. Die Mischbereifung trägt dazu bei, dass man immer mit hoher Performance unterwegs sein kann. Bei allen Macans gibt es immer eine Allradkraftverteilung im Verhältnis von genau 50:50 zwischen Vorder- und Hinterachse. Logically, the rear-wheel drive has 100% on the rear axle. However, with the turbo, there's a setup that's more rear-biased. The rear is fully powered by the rear axle. The turbo is more rear-focused, thus giving it a bit more rear advantage. From the very beginning to the end, it's a total of 114. In the industry hub of Magdeburg, where our Macan originates, there was one exhibited that weighed about 133 or probably 134 kilograms.
Null!
Turbo's design is really cool and stands out on its own. It looks great and it's pretty awesome in its uniqueness and style. Turbo's design is very cool and it stands out. It looks great and is absolutely awesome in its unique style. While traveling to Ionity in Hohenwassleben, we came across a Tesla Model S Plaid. The topaz-colored logo remarkably stands out with its bold and strikingly vibrant presence in the overall design.
This is a spoken text.
In this particular spot, we're going to carry out a test to see how fast our Porsche Macan 4 is able to charge from 10% up to 20%. Stefan, what would your prediction be regarding the time it takes?
This is a spoken text.
They mention it takes 21 minutes to charge from 10 up to 80%. I'm really quite curious to find out if our Macan is capable of actually achieving that here as well. We've got the Macan 4 plugged in at 10% charge and it's steadily building up quite nicely. It is supposed to reach a peak of 270 kilowatts and charge from 10 to 80%, which according to the manufacturer should take about 21 minutes. We set Ionity as the destination so the car could precondition the battery nicely. Es geht unmittelbar hoch auf 270 Kilowatt. So lieben wir das natürlich in der Elektromobilität. Schnelles Laden und kurze Ladepausen sind wirklich wichtige Argumente, um schließlich Fahrer von Verbrennungsmotoren zur Elektromobilität zu bewegen, da lange Ladezeiten oft abschreckend wirken. Есть 5 великих тайн. Тайна смерти, одна из этих 5. My best guess would be it's around 1,200 kilometers. Therefore, you'd more than likely need to make about 3 or maybe even 4 stops for charging during the trip. If you only spend 20 Minuten instead of 40, it creates a significant difference. If you only spend 20 Minuten charging instead of the full Versig, it certainly makes quite a significant difference. In only 1 minute, we've already managed to add approximately 4% to our state of charge, which means we've added roughly 4 kilowatt hours of energy. This is a spoken text.
Please definitely continue keeping it up.
It's not quite as smooth as a Taycan, but more similar to a Macan.
Null.
In just 5 minutes, it astonishingly managed to replenish 20% of a 100 kilowatt battery, which is quite impressive. Charging at over 260 kilowatts, it rapidly adds 20 kilowatt hours in just 5 minutes, allowing travel of more than 100 kilometers.
This is a spoken text.
In nur 5 Minuten kann man etwa 100 Kilometer Reichweite aufladen. Porsche hält seine Versprechen, was man von einem angesehenen Sportwagenhersteller erwartet. Ihre Fähigkeit, diese hohen Erwartungen besonders bei Ladezeiten zu erfüllen, ist beeindruckend. About 80,000 euros is where the pricing for the Macan begins, setting the baseline for this model. Initial leasing offers tend to be in the ballpark of about 700 euros per month. That indeed is often truly considered an electric driver's sweater, wouldn't you agree with me?
Indeed.
It's a wonderful opportunity to show you the Macan once more, providing a detailed look. I must say the design is absolutely insane, with the daytime running lights above, the LED headlights below, and the optional matrix LED headlights as well. Take a look at the air curtains and this thick prominent lip right here. If you stay low and circle around with the camera, Stefan, you actually get to see how the Porsche designers have beautifully showcased this car. And yes, 21-inch wheels can be used in winter too. Porsche's design impresses. Their 21-inch wheels suit winter. Rear specs 255, 45, R21. Front 285, a sleek setup. The color, if I'm not mistaken, is called Copper Robin Metallic, or so I think. A beautiful Bordeaux exterior color with metallic tones that subtly transition into Aubergine, effectively adding depth. Es wirkt sehr stilvoll. Die schwarz glänzenden Akzente passen gut zur Privacy-Verglasung und geben dem Ganzen eine moderne Optik. Porsche ist mit 2 Ladeanschlüssen ausgestattet, einschließlich eines Typ-2-Anschlusses auf der Beifahrerseite für komfortables Laden an öffentlichen Ladesäulen. Есть 5 великих тайн, и тайна смерти – это одна из этих 5.
Null.
By investing some money, you can fit tech into the Audi e-tron's body and mirrors, and that's really fantastic. Oben sieht man eine elegante Haifischflosse, die wirklich stilvoll aussieht. Audi spart damit geschickt für Herrn der Ringe. Und hier gibt es einen wirklich beeindruckenden und schön gestalteten Heckspoiler. Oben ist eine Haifischflosse, hier ein Spoiler, den man bei der Ladepause ausfahren kann, um schnell zu essen. Hier ist ein Spoiler, den man während der Ladepause ausfahren kann, um schnell einen kleinen Bissen zu sich zu nehmen. Do you think it's necessary or not? Share your thoughts in the comments. Isn't this super clean design just incredibly awesome and insane?
This is a spoken text.
It's really something special. In front there's 84 liters of frunk space, and in the back you've got this amazing button, the button to happiness, which opens up an ample 540 liters of trunk space. In the review, we showed you how the seats fold in a convenient 40-20-40 split. This allows access to a total of 1,348 liters of storage space. Есть 5 великих тайн. Тайна смерти – одна из этих 5. Mit der optionalen Anhängerkupplung ist es möglich, bis zu 2 Tonnen an Gewicht zu ziehen. Mit der optionalen Dachreling kann ein Dachgepäckträger genutzt werden, der bis zu 75 Kilogramm trägt. Dieses Fahrzeug ist vielseitig und flexibel in der Nutzung, Steffen, und für viele Zwecke einsetzbar.
Certainly, yes.
50% in 9 Minuten, das bedeutet etwa 40 Kilowattstunden nachgeladen. Er lädt immer noch mit über 200 Kilowatt. Ich habe den Eindruck, dass Porsche mit dem 800-Volt-System und der PPE-Plattform, die Audi im Q6 e-tron verwendet, wirklich etwas Beeindruckendes geschaffen hat. Wir haben euch das ja auch schon gezeigt. Checkt die Videos zum Audi Q6 e-tron aus. Diese Limousine bietet eine tolle Option von Audi und wird bald auch als Sportback verfügbar sein. An Audi can often be somewhat more budget-friendly in comparison to a Porsche. Wouldn't you agree that the charging performance of the Porsche is truly remarkable and genuinely impressive in how it's executed?
Absolutely.
I truly believe it's quite a game changer, requiring others to adjust their strategies. Some people mention that they prefer their electric cars to charge at a slower pace because it gives them the opportunity to relax fully and enjoy their lunch without feeling rushed or pressured. Taking it slow just for a coffee, is that truly where we're aiming to head with this? Will charging ever become as quick and straightforward as refueling used to be? Are we content to stay in this slow and cumbersome charging situation? I'm really interested to know what you think about it. 80% reached in a span of 22 minutes with a total of 72.3 kilowatt hours added to the battery. Around 100 kilowatts indeed. Back in the day, reaching that figure would have truly excited us. Back when we were dealing with 100 kilowatts, that was something we truly found impressive and got really excited about quite a bit. 100 Kilowatts waren damals wirklich großartig. Das hat uns wirklich nachhaltig begeistert. For instance, consider the Lotus email model, which we had the opportunity to observe at the ED1000 event. It seems it charged with etwa 403 kilowatt, if I'm not mistaken. So, dear Lotus friends, we are quite ready to take the Lotus email and possibly the e-letter for a spin to show our viewers the impressive Lotus lineup. It seems to charge at etwa 400 kilowatt. We're poised to drive the email. Der Xiaopeng G6 startet bei einem Preis von 51, was wirklich attraktiv ist. Dies könnte ihn durchaus zu einem ernstzunehmenden Konkurrenten für den Macan machen. Einige könnten sagen, dass beim Anblick des Macan zum Beispiel mit seinem Materialmix auch das Tesla Model Y Performance ansprechend ist. Ich bin wirklich sehr gespannt darauf, wie ihr den Macan in der Review und im Fahrbericht beurteilen werdet. Der Proband beginnt mit einem Startpreis von 84.000 € und kann, je nach gewählter Ausstattung, bis zu 103.970 IG Euro kosten. 84 bis 103 K Euro inklusive der genannten zusätzlichen Überführungskosten. Es gibt zahlreiche zusätzliche Optionen verfügbar für die Ladeleistung. Lasst uns zum abschließenden Fazit bezüglich des Porsche Macan 4 kommen. Die Basisversion mit Allradantrieb ab 84.000 € bietet ein solides Grundpaket, das vielen Ansprüchen gerecht wird, um in die spannende Welt des Macan einzusteigen. The rear-wheel drive version, priced at about 4,000 € less, might appeal to those who don't need all-wheel drive for everyday commuting or yearly trips, making it a cost-effective option for urban driving and routine travel needs. Rear-wheel drive is more than enough, I believe. You can easily cruise anywhere with confidence, enjoy the journey, and still experience that impressive Porsche power. Talking front to back in automotive design, it truly gets the job done. With Porsche performance, you're set to enjoy driving at its best, always delivering what you expect from this prestigious brand. At 160 kilometers per hour, he really demonstrated to us how consumption can increase in an exponential manner. Es ist oft so, dass Elektro-SUVs ihren Verbrauch mit zunehmender Geschwindigkeit merklich steigern, was die Ladeleistung betrifft von 10 bis 80%. 22 bis 23 Minuten laden schnell für einen 100 Kilowattstunden Akku. Das macht das Elektro-SUV zur idealen Wahl für jene, die ein sportliches Coupé suchen. Es bietet einen klugen Kompromiss für Autofahrer, die sowohl Design als auch effiziente Ladeleistung schätzen. 23 Minuten, schnell für Coupé-Enthusiasten, stilvolles Design und Effizienz.
This is a spoken text.
As is typical with almost every Porsche model, you receive a beautifully crafted Porsche badge. You get a well-tuned suspension system that enhances your driving experience. Whether you choose the standard steel suspension, one with PASM, or advanced air suspension, Porsche's known quality and balance remain consistently impressive. I truly think that Porsche consistently manages to stay at the very top, don't you agree?
Consistently known for Porsche quality.
In the end, it is the wallet that determines what one truly desires and chooses to indulge in. Brakes are always great, whether you choose the standard ones, which is sensible for the Macan. Ganz ehrlich mit Ihnen zu sein, da bin ich mir wirklich überhaupt nicht sicher. To be completely honest, if I'm being truthful, I'm really not entirely certain about that at this particular moment. There are a lot of customization options available, each being quite unique, but these can unexpectedly raise your costs quickly. This particular model comes equipped with several extras, yet it's still quite far from being fully loaded with features. It lacks both seat ventilation and a massage feature, which could have been appealing to me since I like driving the car on long trips where extra comfort would be appreciated. It has InnoDrive, which I highly recommend for anyone seeking semi-autonomous driving assistance. It's missing the cool augmented reality head-up display, priced at about €2,000. This setup projects information onto an 87-inch virtual screen, appearing 10 meters away through the windshield. You're able to tow up to 2 tons with a trailer, making it ideal for those who really enjoy hauling heavy loads and carrying extra battery units when needed. As we merge onto the A14, heading towards the well-known cities of Leipzig and Dresden, the distinct power output can really be felt, offering a robust and impressively smooth driving experience all the way. As we accelerate smoothly on the A14 heading towards Leipzig and Dresden, you really notice the plenty of power available, making the drive both smooth and highly enjoyable throughout the journey. As you drive smoothly on the A14 towards Leipzig and Dresden, you truly feel the vehicle's immense power. The ride is not only smooth but also very enjoyable, making each moment on the road delightful. If you enjoy thrilling experiences, check out these videos, especially if you're the type to say, money isn't an issue, as Porsche owners joke. For an unforgettable Macan turbo experience, you're absolutely in for a thrilling and power-packed ride.
Certainly, you can count on that.
We are back at the Porsche Center in Magdeburg with the Macan 4, and this brings us to the conclusion of today's video presentation. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Would you say that you are feeling comfortably snug and quite cozy with everything? We genuinely value and appreciate your support through a free subscription. Есть 5 великих тайн. Тайна смерти, да одна из этих 5. Macan Turbo. We're grateful for your time watching. We're curious if you find this bold lighting design appealing, with daytime lights on top and LED or matrix LEDs below. It offers a fresh style, adding distinctive flair to the car's look. We hope modern car enthusiasts like it.
I don't think it's everyone's cup of tea.
I believe we first noticed this noticeable feature with the BMW i7. Audi does this with the Q6 e-tron as well. I'm very eager to see your views on it. Feel free to share your thoughts down in the comments.